Hi, my name is Keith Raymond. I'm a principal analyst at a company called Celent. Celent is a global research and advisory firm, part of a Oliver Wyman company, and a division of Marsh McLennan. I focus on research and speaking on process automation, everything from robotic process automation all the way through to generative AI. And as you can imagine, these days it's all about generative AI.
Yes, it's all about Gen AI, but we are going to talk something more important today. My name is Satyendra Kumar, and I'm a vice president at Lincoln Financial, where we have gone through the biggest migration from mainframe to cloud in last couple of years, and we are going to talk about that with Keith.
Yep.
Thank you, Keith.
And Satyendra, you know, many companies have really tried in vain in some cases to do what you guys are embarking on right now and have accomplished. So, you know, tell us a little bit about some of the key drivers and primary objectives of your transformation and journey, and how they align with the company's overall business strategy.
Yeah, so I will take that question, Keith, in two parts, right? One is just from the industry perspective, right? As you know, insurance industry is pretty laggard from the innovation side. 70% of our businesses, they still run on legacy technologies. And we generate 1.4 trillion of premium. That is the second biggest contributor to the GDP. So think about our contribution to the economy and where we are from the innovation. So that was the macro, one of the macro factors that why we want to do this. Right. The second was the internal micro factors at Lincoln, right? So from Lincoln, from top to bottom, we were cloud first company, right? So modernization was one of our objectives. The second was tech simplification. And third was the expense management, right? Because mainframe, your cost just grows year over year. It never goes down, right? Even if you reduce some assets from mainframe, you don't get the benefit. You do not have the total cost of ownership. So all these factors together came, and we decided as a company that let's take this bold step and really look to modernize our mainframe, and not in small ways, right? Take all of our mainframe and move it to cloud in one shot. And so those were the key drivers, the macro drivers, micro drivers, but it was a desire and will of the company to become modern and more aligned to business so we can be business efficient in the marketplace.
Okay. So insurance companies have a lot of legacy out there to modernize,
yes.
Right? And life insurance companies especially have a lot of legacy to modernize. And so when you're trying to convince your senior leaders that, hey, this is a great investment, and you know, this journey, I want to take you on this journey, and we're going to be successful. You know, talk about how you influence that leadership and to invest in a multi-million-dollar, multi-year initiative.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's always hard, right? Because we all know the problem statement, but how are we going to go about it and why, right? There are a couple of things out there. First is that do the leadership of the organization see the future, right? That's a softer side of it. That was there, right? There was a desire from the CEO, CIO, everyone to not only do it for Lincoln, but do it for industry. The second part was that we were very clear in articulating the benefits, right? So we are reducing Lincoln's mainframe expense by 50%. And that 50%, we can take that and bring it back to further innovation for the company, right? So the reason we gave to our leadership and how we brought them along was like, hey, this will future-proof the company from technology perspective. This will reduce the expense, and it will also allow us to go from CapEx to OpEx, right? Because your mainframe is 7-bedroom villa, right? You take a couple of fridges out and a couple of furniture out, you don't get the saving. Right. While on cloud, you can focus on what business you want to sell, you don't want to stop, and you have the knob to regulate that. And this is all good in ideas, but how do you build confidence with your stakeholder? And for that, what we did that, we went in the marketplace and we did a RFI, request for information, right, with 7-8 companies. And we engaged 50 leaders from Lincoln to participate in it, listen to the solutions, vet and scoring, right? We also kind of created a map and a movie for our leadership to see where we will be, what are the challenges, in a very transparent way. We created a Wikipedia where we can literally, you can go in the future and see what it will look like. Right? So those were the initial things, bringing a lot of engagement from everyone in the company to be part of the process, democratizing all the information and sharing with them. And the third was having quick wins. So I will just share an anecdote. We first did a 500,000 migration, and it was so silent and so eventless that when business asked, how are we doing? And we said, our half of the million policies are running on the cloud with no event. And there is no bigger selling point than the success. Because this was scary for all of us, right? But there was will, there was support, and we took extensive effort of being transparent and effective communication to ensure everyone buys in and supports us. And obviously, we had a strong CBA.
Right. Well, it sounds like you guys had a fabulous approach. And it's still a multi-year, multi-million-dollar initiative, right? And so there's got to be a lot of complexity to really make that happen and deliver. So talk a little bit about how do you ensure success with such a large initiative and a complicated transformation?
So Keith, you know the industry better than me, right? Yeah. Lincoln is no different, right? You have every technology from 1950s to 60s to 70s to 80s to today, right? It's like watching the movie Irishman. Right? There is nothing which is not there at Lincoln, right? So COBOL 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, RPG, VSE, assembler, any technology you name it, like CoolGen, Culprit, ADSO, it's there. So it's hard, it's complicated, right? And we are moving roughly 75 million code from mainframe to cloud. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it is certainly doable, right? One of the key anchor point we did that we are going to go fast, like high velocity and high momentum. Because if you really look at the industry, the success rate of transformation, big transformation is 8%. The reason is people take too long and they do it too slow by the time the macroeconomic indicator change, microeconomic indicator change. So we went high velocity, high momentum, knowing it's going to be complicated, hard, from the technology perspective, from the people perspective, and from the process perspective, right? So challenges were galore, right? Challenges were galore means you don't even have the code, which is running for years, decades, right? We don't have institutional knowledge because people are not around anymore. We don't have the test data to end test to test. We do not have environments to test to test. So challenges were galore, but by doing that democratization of the problem and seeking input of why it will not be successful, that gave us so much of intelligence. So we did heavy due diligence and prepare against why it will not work and what problem people are seeing that why it will not work and prepare for that.
Right. So you bring up the challenges, and I know there were probably many.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about some of the bigger ones that you had to deal with for those that are watching, because I'm sure those that are considering to embark on something like this or have and maybe failed in the past would love to know how you tackle the big stuff.
Absolutely, most critical piece, right? So I think sometimes as a leader we focus too much on technology and less on people. This is a human story, this success, right? There's 1,000 people working for 2 years, right? We have 8 main partners. So first thing was the organizational complexity, right? Just within Lincoln, we have multiple departments. How do we bring them together? Then all these 8 partners, main partners, how do we bring everyone on the same page all the time? And that has to happen from top to bottom. So that social engineering was the first key to the success, that everyone was together, they knew their role, responsibility, and they knew that we cannot say whose problem is this. We are all in this together. That's the first piece, the people side. Then the technical complexity, right? The technical complexity, the first one I talked about, test data. You don't have the test data, so you have to create the test data for all those systems. It's 120 systems. Second was data migration. How do you take this data from here and move it in timely manner? Third was the performance, right? Because mainframe is a beast. Right. It runs. So we did a lot of production parallels to alleviate that. So we will run on mainframe, we will run on cloud, and simultaneously we'll run and see how the output is from the function perspective and the performance perspective. We also did dry runs. So we will do 10 production parallels, multiple dry runs. It's like taking the furniture from a house, going to the new house, setting it up, see it works, find your deficiencies, come back, fix it, go back again. So I would say test data, data itself, the conversion of data from mainframe to cloud. And the fourth one is the most important, is the security and compliance, right? Because as soon as you go on the cloud, every transaction has to be encrypted. Every user has to be tokenized. And we had to solve for it, right? Because mainframe works very differently than cloud. So these are the 3 to 4 top technical challenges. So human challenges, technical challenges, and the third is your business users, right? How are you going to convince your business users that we are going to be successful and you will be able to do your business seamlessly? And for that, what we did was that we brought them very early in the cycle in pseudo production mode. So real users who day in, day out using today's system, we brought them in and let them play with the system. So they felt comfortable. They became our brand ambassador to the business who actually uses the system. And we also created a role called application migration partner. For every application, we had one brand ambassador whose responsibility was to reach everyone who interacts across the company with that application. That person is going to be in charge in ensuring everyone comes on the same page as we solve and as we progress, and keeping it very transparent.
Yeah, you mentioned a number of things I think are a common theme in the industry for the successes that I've seen, and that top-down, leadership involvement, the collaboration between business and technology, and really all parts of the organization have to have buy-in. So that's definitely key. We've seen a lot of organizations to decide to modernize, even if there's no substantial initial return on investment. They just know they have to do it for the future. They know they have to do it from the standpoint of staying competitive, and keeping up with the Joneses, if you will, right?
Absolutely.
I did a report not too long ago where I interviewed 13 insurers that had either just completed a modernization effort of some kind, or were in the middle of it. And it was the interesting data point I got was not one of them had gone to the senior leadership to say there was a definitive ROI, right? And they took the tangible benefits of cost reduction and stuff like that, and the intangibles like customer experience and speed to market and those kinds of things, and really that was the fuel of the launch, right?
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yep.
But another common theme with the insurers that had great success stories was culture.
Yes,
right?
Culture.
And that cultural transformation that they had to embark
Absolutely.
on in order to make that successful. So talk a little bit about your cultural transformation and how you got everybody on board, top down.
Yes,
right?
couldn't agree more, right?
Right.
So I'm representing Lincoln, right? But if you really think about it, it's a body of work, right? Where Lincoln leadership, from CEO, CIO, this side of the house, the business side of the house, right? They all were very supportive of this venture, right? Then this 1,000 people who have been working for 2 years, day, night, weekends, right? That's really a very different culture because it's not a typical project, right? You don't know what you don't know. You are going to get hit by surprises. Like being agile, it was in true sense, right? Like we put a date, we are going to release it, let's say next week. And then you are working hard, and then you realize that, oh, we are hit with a surprise. And we will change the date to week after. Right. And whole company will rally behind us. So if you want to really learn agile, that's called agility. Yeah. Agility to make decisions very quickly and having that empowerment and everyone supporting that cultural transformation, that this is some of the things you said, right? This is going to future-proof Lincoln. Lincoln is a 100-year-old company. We want to be another 100 years. So we had to modernize, so it's future-proofing the company. And also with Gen AI coming, data mining, all kind of things are not very effective if the data is sitting on the legacy technologies. So unless we bring it to a more cohesive, like right now we have 250 softwares, 50 to 60 different technology stack, right? From there, we are bringing it to 25 to 50. It's like 1/6. So that takes simplification and the data consistency will allow us to truly tap into Gen AI and futuristic technology, and hopefully that will give us an advantage to Lincoln business to compete in the marketplace. So culture is if you want these programs to be successful, that's my urge to everyone. Culture is the key. People is the key, because if we put our heart and mind to something, there's nothing we cannot achieve as humans. Right. It's just that, are we working together? Do we have the will? Do we have the gumption? And are we ready to take those risks and work through them as the challenges emerge?
Yeah, I like the tagline, future-proofing.
Yes.
Right? I think that goes a long way, and it's a great tagline to kind of rally around when it comes to culture, right? Yeah. And I think the flexibility, it sounds like you guys are building in, the simplification, and all that allows you to really jumpstart into speed to market with new product launches and stuff like that, I would imagine. So, multi-year, multi-million-dollar journey, you probably had a boatload of challenges, a boatload of lessons that come out of those, right? So talk about maybe the top 2, 3 lessons learned from this, at least to date.
Yes, well, there are a lot of lessons learned, right? So, as we said, right, we did a lot of due diligence, brought everyone together, democratized the data, right? And we broke the work in 3 pieces, right? There is something called known. We know the work, we know what to do with it. Second bucket was known unknown. We know that we don't know these things, but we have an idea about it. And the third was known unknown. Yeah. We don't know what's going to surprise us, and we don't know where it will come from. And we tapped into a lot of Navy SEAL methodologies and strategies.
No kidding.
Yeah, because, I will give you an example, right? Osama bin Laden capture is a great example, right? Navy SEAL prepared, worked hard, they had the plan. They go in the campus, the chopper crash, but they still complete the mission. That was the mindset we had. So we had a SWAT team to deal with these unknown unknowns, right? So lessons learned after doing all this is still the due diligence could have been better done, right? We could have mapped it out much better, because we are talking about 120 applications, but 6,000 interfaces. So it's not only one application has 400 interfaces. So all this connection, all the data coming, right? I think we could have done better. The second was cleansing the data, right? Because the data is 60-year-old, there is a lot of junk sitting, some information sitting here, and when you convert, it just breaks. I think we could have done a better job in cleansing the data and understanding the data before we migrated to cloud, right? And the third one was test data, because you don't have the test data, so we have to build the test data. We should have done that earlier, right? Because you need end-to-end testing to really do this kind of program, because you are not doing incremental change. You are building a new house altogether. And the fourth one, I would say it was more that some of the niche areas, like screen scraping, there are things which are available in a mainframe but not available in cloud. We could have brought those subject matter and experts earlier in the cycle, knowing that something like that will emerge. So test data, data cleansing, end-to-end testing, and maybe some better expertise. There's a lot of lessons to be learned. Right. I'm just trying to tell you the big ones.
So last question for you.
Sure.
I find transformation a real interesting term, right?
Yes.
Because once you're done, at least the initial objectives, the pat on the backs, the success, touted around the company, hey, we did a great job, all that kind of stuff. But I see real success is positioning yourself for adaptation, right?
Yep.
Being fluid, those kinds of
Absolutely.
things, right? And so guess what? You're just done and Gen AI hits.
Yes.
Right? And so, where does AI in general and Gen AI fit into all the transformation? And what's the true power of your transformation?
Absolutely, right? That's why I said this is future-proofing the company, right? So we have, it's a roughly 100 million of line of code, 75 million we are migrating, right? So we took 3-prong approach. I think what you're asking is the sustenance of this transformation,
absolutely.
how it will sustain through the next decade and decade later, right? 3-prong approach we took. 1/3 or maybe 1/4 we just rewrote in the cloud native, right? So it's cloud native, as current as it can get. Another 1/4 we took that and replaced with the new products, cloud native products. And the rest of them, as I said, from 250 and 60, we brought them to one technology stack, right, which is COBOL, DB2, and AWS, so cloud enabled. Now this simplification will actually fuel the next set of transformation. That's where Gen AI can become very powerful, because you don't have to build these complicated models where everything is disjointed, fragmented, customized, right, over 60, 70 years. Now you have a standard stack, right, simplified stack where data is cohesive, forward-looking, and those things can operate. So I would say that the true transformation will come after this, where business can really leverage this change to fuel the growth of the business. So I would say, I know it's a transformation, but I would say it's the one hop in the transformation, right? That's how I see it.
Good. Well, it sounds like one heck of a journey.
It is.
Thanks for sharing the story with us, and really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I will say this, right? I'm the spokesperson, but I'm speaking on the behalf of Lincoln Financials and all those 1,000 people, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They have given their life, days, nights, weekends. So while I get to speak, I'm one of those 1,000, right? So kudos to the team. We are 90% done, and we are hoping to wrap up in next 3 to 4 months. And this was done within 2.5 years.
That's awesome.
Right? So kudos to the team, my organization, and my partners who have been just phenomenal in this journey.
Yeah. Well, awesome story. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.